Whether you're a new player to the game or just looking for your next main, there's always the question of who is the best legend? With Brawlhalla having over 50 legends, this is actually an incredibly hard question to answer nowadays. However, I think it's possible to break this down and answer a similar question. This is the best legend for each weapon in Brawlhalla. So how I decided came down to 4 main points. These were the legend signature kit, the legend stat spread, their secondary weapon, and then how good they are in both game modes, which is 1v1 and 2v2. Now I want to note that I used the last 2 only if I thought it was close and I needed to do a bit of a tiebreaker, as some of these were very hard. So before you lose it in the comments, try to hear me out fully on these, but let's get into it. Starting off with the axe, it was really hard for me to narrow this one down, as I feel right now there are a lot of axe legends who have super strong signature kits. Azoth, however, sticks out, as his signature kit all around is incredible. Aside from the kit overall being incredibly fast, D-Sig is great on edge and can be a pain to punish, Side-Sig covers a lot of ground and hits like a truck, and End-Sig is strong and can be a great way to mix up your options. The stat spread is also relatively ideal, as he is a higher defense and strength legend, which gives him an edge on legends like Jala. Finally, I think Azoth's bow kit alongside his axe is what really takes him to the next level and cements himself in this spot. Diana has probably held this spot for longer than anyone else on this list, and if I had to use one word to describe her, it'd be complete. Her bow End-Sig has the potential to true combo off of D-Light with the proper angle and is unavoidable off D-Light if there's no dodge. Side-Sig has tremendous force and a generous hitbox that can make it a great option alone or used as a read off of Sidelight. D-Sig has an incredible spiking angle with force to match and is probably the best stacked option bow has aside from Koji's own D-Sig. Her stat spread is pretty leveled out as well, allowing players a greater variety of stance choices, aside from Dex of course. Shang is one of my most played legends, and I have no idea how this guy hasn't been nerfed yet. The spear side sig alone makes him a strong contender, and the rest of the kit just puts him over the edge. Side sig is an insane tool for edge guarding due to the range and force that it has, not to mention that it can be incorporated into mix-ups off Endlight. Neutral sig is just about as unpunishable as side sig and can be an easy move to use in mix-ups off Sidelight and Neutral Light. Down sig is probably the worst signature in the kit. However, that's not saying much given the force backing it up and the potential offstage spike that can happen if the lower hitboxes connect. These moves are essentially light attacks on Spear and should be treated as such. The stat spread is also perfect for Spear, as 6 dex and up allows for side air into Neutral Light as a true combo, the only dex specific combo on Spear. Even through numerous nerfs since release, Mordex is still the king of Scythe. Out of all the Scythe legends, Mordex feels like he can flow the best with Scythe's kit, allowing creative strings to be made with his signatures. Neutral Sig serves as a fantastic anti-air, Side Sig can cover a huge area in front of him and is good for catching opponents moving away or on the edge, and D-Sig can be useful for its active input ability. Not to mention, all these Sigs have pretty solid force, making them great KO options. The stats here also play a large part, as his higher speed and strength make him a cut above legends such as Volkov or Jiro. One of the easier choices to make, Lucien without a doubt is the best katars. The neutral signature being a full 360 degrees makes read off light attacks easy by allowing multiple options to be covered at once while also making him more difficult to punish. Side sig adds to the katar kit by giving it a strong vertical KO option aside from recovery. Downsig has an immense hitbox, making it a great option to catch the opponent moving away and can lead to early KOs if it connects off stage. Yes, he does have lower strength, but that is more than made up for by the high defense and by being the fastest Katar legend, which can give the user a monumentally easier time continuing pressure on the opponent. Even though the last thing she received was nerfs, it's still hard to make an argument that any other legend can match Fate's orb. For being a 4-dex legend, the signature kit doesn't really do a good job reflecting that. End-Sig on Orb is a ridiculous anti-air that is practically unreactable and unpunishable. Side-Sig is incredibly safe to throw out and can be used as a great tool to get back to the stage. Down-Sig features 2 versions, one horizontal and the other vertical. This can give the user the ability to get earlier KOs depending on where they are on the stage. And did I mention the stats? 7 strength, 4 dex, 4 defense, and 7 speed. That's just absurd for a weapon like Orb, especially since dexterity on the weapon is quite negligible. To me, this is another easy choice to make. The best cannon since their release is Onyx. The main power of Onyx's cannon lies in Ensig and Sidesig. Ensig is quick and can be used raw or as a mix-up off Sidelight, for example. Sidesig's hitbox is deceivingly large and can cover decent airspace. Downsig is considerably weaker than the other two in terms of force, but it's the only cannon sig on Onyx that can hit stacked. Now let's ignore the signatures. Onyx still has the best stats out of all canon legends, being high defense, average strength and speed, and then lower dex. Now to talk about the best gauntlets, here's Egg Soup.
Now, the thing about Petra is that she is one of the perfect characters if you want to play Rushdown. You want to get in their face, you want to get super aggressive, Petra has the kit to do it. She's got the Ensig, lightning speed uppercut. This move hits grounded, it hits in the air. This is going to kill you. It's hard to react to, it's hard to punish. Fantastic move. But not only that, she has the Sidesig, also super fast, also hard to punish. Soars across the map, super speed. I feel like I'm like selling you a product here. It has active input, okay, so you can optimize your KOs. You're at the top of the map and this move hits horizontally and it's not going to kill. OJK, it is going to kill because you're going to press your W key or your hold up on your control stick or strum your Guitar Hero controller at a certain rhythm. I don't know how those things work. And then before you even realize it, you're dead off the top of the map. So I mean, kind of a good move. Also, let's talk about Downsig. Now, Downsig is one of the few moves in Brawlhalla that can teleport. You get behind them, you travel halfway across the map, you say, hey, what are you doing, man? Pick yourself up, Tony. Yeah, I'm walking over here. But wait, there's more, okay, because Petra isn't just her SIGs, she's also got her stats, and her stat line is great. It's fantastic. She's got the highest strength gauntlets in Brawlhalla. She's also got base 6 speed, which means that you're always going to be doing damage. You're going to always have the golden amount of at least 5 speed if you're locking in that defense stance. And she's also got 4 dex, which you might think is a downside, but I mean, between me and you here, if we're really talking, 4 dex on gauntlets and orb doesn't actually really matter that much, so it means those stats are getting put into other places, and that's kind of better. But yeah, that's Petra. Back to you, Captain.
Thanks, Egg. Now for hammer, I went back with multiple people on who they think the best hammer is, and I got varying results. I had some say Bodvar, Scarlet, Nash, even Core. There are several legends that could be argued for this spot, but for now I've settled on my decision and I believe the best hammer is Thor. Hear me out. Let's start with signatures. Hammer Ensig honestly isn't some crazy KO move, but it can be true comboed off D-Light for 34 damage, if the defense and attack are evenly matched. Sidesig can travel quite far and is very fast and hard hitting, making it a great option to rush an opponent down with. Downsig lets Thor throw out a huge hitbox in front of him that has an incredibly horizontal angle, making it a solid ranged KO option. His SIGs are probably his weakest point. The other 3 points I mentioned at the start are a different story. The stats of Thor are an important factor here, as they don't affect his weapons in any major way, allowing the user to give up another dex with relative ease and play him at 6 strength, 3 dex, 7 defense, and 6 speed. It just doesn't get much better than that. Also, Thor's second weapon, Orb, contrasts amazingly with Hammer. Orb has so much freedom and movement, allowing creative strings that can build damage fast and allow quick in and out plays. Hammer, on the other hand, is more linear, easier to use, and can get KOs more efficiently. This also makes him quite the threat in both 1v1s and 2v2s, as he's not just some slug tank legend that has 2 slower weapons. I think the final thing to be said about Thor is that compared to the other hammer legends contending for this position, he feels future-proof. He's been under the radar for an extremely long time, and it'd be shocking to see any direct nerfs to his kit in general. This one was hard, but for different reasons than Hammer. Lance sees such a little representation at top level, which makes it harder to determine which legend would be the best in the hands of someone who knows how to use them. That being said though, Orion is my pick for the best Lance legend in Brawlhalla. I do want to mention Vrax however, as when high dexterity on Lance is good, he is undeniably the best Lance. With this being said though, Dex is not that favorable right now, making him just a worst option stat-wise. When looking at Orion, the neutral signature is the one to highlight as its huge hitbox and immense power make it a great option to read with off N-Light, D-Light, Sidelight, and even Nair. Downsig is a quick step back that can be great on edge or used as a read like the Ensig. Sidesig by many is considered to be the weakest, but its far travel distance and solid power still make it quite a viable move. Great for closing the gap quickly and catching people off guard. So initially I thought the best sword was Val hands down, but then I got real with myself. Just about every sword legend has a signature kit that's strong in some way. After lots of conversation, however, I've decided that the figurehead of Brawlhalla himself, Bodvar, is the best sword in the game. Bodvar is simple in design, but don't let that deter you from the power he has. Every signature on his sword kit has so much kick to it. Although I can't move on until I talk about his down sig. Bodvar's down sig is the epitome of an alpha game's hitboxing. That move will graze you in orange and nearly spike you to the point of no return. Also, downlight gravity cancel down sig is unjumpable, meaning if your opponent has no dodge, you can do this sequence and probably get some early KOs. Stats are simple as well, and given their balanced nature, you'll see Bodvar mains practically use every stance depending on the situation. Bodvar rocks hammer too, and does it extremely well, being one of the best in the game. I think out of everyone on this list, Bodvar is probably the safest pick, and will almost always be a good choice to play. Greatsword, without a doubt the most controversial weapon to ever be added in Brawlhalla. With this being said, it only makes sense that I choose the most controversial legend to date, Jaeyun. Since release, Jaeyun has seen no changes to his greatsword signatures, which is shocking considering the neutral signature especially is quite the powerhouse since it's strong, fast, a respectable anti-air signature, and can be used as a mix-up in greatsword strings. And if you ever find yourself struggling on greatsword, no worries. You can just swap the sword and look for combos, throw out some neutralites, maybe some side sig or neutral sig. It's just a great weapon pairing. Briefly mentioning the stat spread, he is pretty balanced. Although it's relatively common to see players using the strength stance since losing a dexterity on sword and greatsword isn't felt that much, if at all. So right now, out of all the weapons, I think blasters are the ones that matter the least on this list. There's just no ridiculous blasters pick right now. But to help decide, I spoke with Cody Travis, one of the best blaster players in the world, who told me Diana is the best blasters legend. He says the side sig and neutral sig are great long range options that are both powerful, and down sig is good for an opponent in close range when you don't need to neutralight or downlight. Cody also mentions Diana's stats are good for blasters, since they're quite balanced and allow the user to choose whatever stance they're most comfortable with. Now, just because Diana appears on here twice doesn't necessarily make her some sort of overpowered legend. If you can't place her signatures properly, getting a KO on bow and blasters can be quite hard sometimes. Well, that does it for the list. Remember, this was just my own thoughts mixed in with some others, and in the end, I don't think you should let some guy on the internet be the deciding factor in who you choose to play. Every legend can see success, and at the end of the day, you want to play who you have the most fun with. This did take a lot of time to make, so if you enjoyed it, I'd be grateful if you left a like, subscribed, or even left a comment on which legends you think are the best for each weapon. But that does it for me. Peace everyone.